Actually, go on your page.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our premiere edition of Can We Chat Here. My name is Sheila Abram, and I am coming to you all the way from the Pacific West Coast in sunny California. I'm going to get my microphone over here so you all can hear me nice and clear. Miss Maxine Jones, I am joined by my co-host, Miss Maxine Jones, and I am so pleased that she is my business partner. Miss Maxine Jones, are you sharing this live on Facebook? Do you see it on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
All
Miss
right.
Sheila. I am sharing it live on Facebook.
There we go. Okay, can we chat here? Miss Maxine Jones and I were having a conversation last week, and we were talking about how when you hear someone else's story, it lets you know, for one, you are not alone in what you're going through. And it also lets you know, once you hear someone else's story, that they went through a similar situation that you went through. Now, sometimes stories are just that. They are just stories. But what makes stories success stories is when there's a positive outcome to that story. When now that you tell that story, you have something positive to either offer someone else and offer others. Now, Miss Maxine Jones, I tell you, a lot of women, they don't like to tell their age. That's not me. I'll tell anybody my age. But a lot of people don't like to tell their age. But you and I, we have a bit of an age difference. Even though us getting to know each other, you would not know that, you know. But you almost could be my Mama Maxine.
Absolutely. Some people do call me Mama Max.
Now can you turn your volume up just a little bit on your microphone? I think you're not that close to your mic.
Okay.
Where's your microphone?
How about now?
That's better.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I did have it pretty low. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bring it up. Okay, so we kind of shared a similar past with our careers, with just a lot of things. One of the things Maxine and I found out about ourselves is we both worked for the Postal Service. That was our quote unquote career job. Until I just couldn't stomach it anymore. I was in.
She walked away. I didn't walk away. She walked away.
Mid to upper management. And let's talk about, we decided our first topic was taking your sick children to work. We decided that was going to be a topic because single parents and even working parents, a family where both mom and dad are working, somebody is either taking the kids to the babysitter. Someone, if our kids are sick, has to stay home. You kind of alternate it. But when you're a single parent, you don't have anybody to alternate that with. Now, the premise of Can We Chat Now is we're going to have a minimum of 2 to a max of 3 panelists joining us on Can We Chat Now. Now, we had so many submissions, people wanting to tell their stories. But Mrs. Jones, Maxine, and I, we didn't realize something. We had an error. Yes. And the error was we decided the time was going to be 2 p.m. Pacific time, which was 5 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you that don't know me, I own multiple corporations. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a gold acquisition specialist with Carrot Bars International. I make my own schedule. So Miss Maxine Jones and I, as we were talking, we said, what time do you want to do it? I said, hey, how about 2 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock yours? We did not take into account that people are working. People in New York are commuting. They're either just punching out of work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or they're already in traffic or on the subway.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the subway. Now, they may be able to log in and look at us on Facebook. You know, they might be able to do that, but what they're not able to do is they're not able to be in a position where they could be panelists with us. So we do want to let you know that next week we're completely changing the time to Can We Chat Now, because there were some stories that were submitted that I really, really would have liked that person to have shared their story. So it's going to be Monday nights at, what time did we decide on, Miss Maxine Jones? Monday night. Okay.
But yeah, Monday night, 8:30 Eastern Standard.
Okay, so that's your microphone is breaking up. It might be your internet. It's Monday night at 8:30 Eastern time, which is 5:30
Standard Time and 5:30 Pacific time.
Yeah,
so,
that way,
okay.
That gives the opportunity.
All right.
Yeah, for people to be off of work. So Maxine, kind of check your mic, because your volume. You're
no, you couldn't hear me?
I can hear you, but you're low. Okay, let me turn my volume up. There we go. And did you lose your internet connection?
Right. Okay. Oh. Okay. Now it's gone back to.
Okay. One moment, we will correct that right now. We will get your camera back up and running. That is not a problem. Okay. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the time. And you can now unmute your camera.
All right. There we are. Okay.
There we go. Now you're back. All right.
Changing the time, and we're changing the day.
And the day. Yeah, it will now be on Mondays for Can We Chat Now. Now, there we go. So the live stream is still going. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my story about taking my sick children or child, because, you know, I have 4. They're adults now. At some point in time, one of the 4 is going to get sick. And they don't normally get sick at the same time. Now, it's funny. You know, back then they didn't have a vaccination for the chicken pox. So when my youngest son got the chicken pox, I had my oldest son, you know, one was like 5, the other was 7, because they're 2 years apart. I would have one sleep with the other, because catch it together, you know.
I gotta ask you, did that work? Because
yes, it
my
did.
mom tried that with my sister and I. We're 2 years apart, and it didn't work.
Yes, it worked.
I got chicken pox like a whole year after my sister.
No, it worked for me. It definitely worked for me. So this way, when I had to take off work, I was only taking off work one time with that one doctor's note. Because those of you who are working parents, and depending on the sick policy or the leave policy of your job, you either have to have a doctor's note for more than 3 days, or let's say you have multiple children and just different, some children, like my oldest son, he was severe asthmatic. From the time he was a baby, born, I would notice, and he's a month old, that he would start breathing funny. And I'm trying to figure out this little newborn, and I'm a young mother, why is his chest pulling? But see, I was severe asthmatic as a child, so I started to recognize those symptoms. And I would take him to the pediatrician, and I would tell the pediatrician, I think my son has asthma. And what I was told, no, babies do not have asthma. You get that later in life. Well, we were making chronic trips to the emergency room for his breathing. And I'm going to tell you this story. I was just due to the post office at that time. Mm-hmm. And he just had the breathing, the asthma would just flare up constantly. So I was calling off sick, new employee, rushing my child to the emergency room, them not figuring out what's going on, and then trying to explain to the job that, look, I never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So fortunately, a friend of mine who then became his babysitter, she used to have asthma and she still had it as an adult. So she was very familiar with how to handle it. And by that time, let's see, he's about 3 months old now. And I can recall my best friend rushing me to the emergency room. His little lips were turning blue in my arms. So I'm now trying to just do mouth to mouth just to keep air going in. We get back to the back room and there was a brand new intern working, fresh out of med school. And he looked at my son and he said, this baby's having an asthma attack. And he was the first one who completely diagnosed it. And from that point on, he was given, the medications to control it. And one of those breathing machines was sent home with me so that he can have breathing treatments at home whenever it would just start to flare up so that it wouldn't go full-fledged. And I was able to take the breathing machine to the babysitter. But the scary thing is when your child is sick, you get up in the morning, you see they're having whether it's asthma or whatever type of ailment. And if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and type. If you had a sick child or have a sick child,
absolutely,
go ahead and type in there what, their issues are. Okay, because his was a breathing issue. Now, I still had to get up and go to work. I would call the babysitter on the phone and I would say, Lori, he's having some asthma issues this morning. Listen, as soon as I drop him off, you've got to get him on a breathing treatment, and just monitor him. So I'm dropping my sick child off at the babysitter with his machine. Getting to work, you are worried the entire time you're at work. Okay. Now, the reason I'm worried the entire time I'm at work is she didn't have a car. And this was back in the time where we did not have cell phones. This was 1982. So it was every time I had a free minute, because I was a letter carrier at that time. Every payphone I went by, I'm picking up and I'm calling her. She already knew the time that I was in the office. So if something were to happen while I was in the office, she could call my, work supervisor would tell me, and she didn't live far. The babysitter was like 7 minutes from where I worked. I live 5 minutes from where I worked. So it was easy to get to her. But see, these are things that you have to go through as a parent of a sick child, where you have to go to work. You cannot stay home, and then it would be, once they got older, when one of them would be sick and they were old enough to, one of them could stay home and watch the other. I have my older son staying home watching the younger son, or I had the younger son staying out of school to watch the older child. Or they wake up and they have a fever. How many parents have gone through this? And go ahead and type in the chat bar. Your child wakes up and says, Mom, I don't feel good. My stomach hurts. I'm not. And what do? You touch their forehead. Now, what you're saying in your mind is, oh, you got a little fever. Mm-hmm. You got a little fever. But what you're saying to you, no, you know what? You feel pretty good to me.
Not so bad.
No, look, I think you're going to be fine. Let's get some hot cereal in you. If you don't feel better later, go to the nurse and the nurse will call me. Okay? Because why do we do that? We do that because isn't it interesting that the job accepts a phone call from the school saying your child is sick more than they accept you calling in the morning saying, my child is sick. They have a fever. Now, see, a fever, for those of you parents, just because your child has a fever, it does not mean you're taking your child to the doctor. You know, it doesn't. That could be a chicken soup remedy. Give them some Motrin, get them comfortable in the bed. You take care of them. Not every time they aren't feeling well is a doctor's visit. But sometimes when you're calling off work, it has to be.
Yeah.
So yet when your supervisor or manager gets a call from the nurse and says, oh my God, the school called, your son has a fever. Go take care of him.
And it's official.
It's official and it's okay. It's official and it's okay. Okay. But Miss Maxine Jones, you know me, I will tend to just tell my stories. I want to hear, tell me.
I got two interesting stories.
Yes. Okay.
And I was an asthmatic. So I was listening to you when you were sharing about the doctor telling you that, you know, babies don't have asthma. Yes, they do. Because I developed asthma really soon after I was born and suffered with asthma. And I was born in Bermuda, but I suffered with asthma until we got to the United States, and I actually outgrew it. But I remember having those asthma attacks and my mom not knowing what to do with me and the difficulty with the breathing. So that's not true. But that is interesting that the two of us were started at the Postal Service as letter carriers.
Yes.
Now, with me, I lived in an area that was not close to my job. I either had to take a bus and a train to the end of the line or take what was called the Long Island Railroad. Now, I had to be to work at 6 a.m. I had never been on the job where I had to be to work at 6 a.m. Now, I had my daughter and my son. They're 10 years apart. But at the time, he was just, a baby. So my report time was 6 a.m. I had to catch a 4:17 a.m. train in the morning. So now I am up before 3 o'clock, having to get dressed, get them dressed, take them to the babysitter, which was down the block from me. Thank God my girlfriend lived close to me, but she gave me a key so I could go through her side door, get them upstairs, get them in bed, because of course I woke them up, gave my son his bottle, whatever, and get them back and settled. Then I had to call a cab to go to the railroad and catch the train before getting into the city. So, but if I was to take the bus and the train, and I chose to do that, to take the Long Island Railroad, which was more expensive, but if I took the bus and the train, my commute would be an hour and a half. And taking the Long Island Railroad, which was a little more pricey, it cut it in half. I actually was 45 minutes. If it was running late, 50 minutes or whatever. But sometimes when I took my son, because he was a baby, he had the runny nose. And when the runny nose comes, or the high fever, or if they're teething, they run high fevers. But you have to go. And being a new employee at the Postal Service, they are not concerned about you calling in sick. You have either a route to do or someone else's route to do, and they expect you to be there. My first encounter when I was on the floor, and Postal Service had women at the time, but not a lot of letter carriers. And I remember the superintendent saying to me, "Oh, you ladies come in here, and I'm going to tell you this: no one is going to do your job for you. You expect to be here whether you have children or whatever, because that's the first direction he went to. Men have children too, but he directed it to the ladies." And I just said to him, "Sir, I wouldn't have taken the job if I did not feel that I could do it." But, you have to go. Mm-hmm. You don't have any choice. Another interesting one, this one really actually scared me because I didn't have a babysitter. And my son was, I'm thinking, maybe going on 11, 12. Mm-hmm. And he convinced me that he could stay home by himself. After a lot of pleading, I decided, okay, I'm going to let him do it. And I had a field position at the time. I hadn't left the office as yet, and I got a call. And I picked up the phone, and like you said, we didn't have cell phones. I was phoning my office, And he said, Mommy, I'm bleeding. I was like, what? What do you mean? Where are you bleeding? Where are you bleeding? He said, my hand. I said, what did you do? So typical boy, he's jumping around and had
the home alone.
Yeah, a porch in the back, but it had a glass window. He put his hand through the glass window. So now I don't know where he's bleeding. I'm panicking. Now I have to take the railroad, which is now off schedule. And I said to him, go next door to Maria. I know my neighbor was home. I didn't know where he's bleeding, how bad or whatever. And I'm trying not to panic. You know, my coworkers were saying, okay, calm down. So now I have to take the Long Island Railroad back to, my stop, the Far Rockaway stop. And then I had to go, and by then I had a beat up car, run again my beat up car, jump into my used car and get home. He ended up, I had to take him to emergency. He had to get stitches. And he ran all over the house and didn't realize, because I guess he was so excited and accelerated. So everything he touched, the blood was pumping more and more and more instead of him calming down. But I mean, I just felt so bad. I was in tears. I was terrified because all he said was, Mommy, I'm bleeding. And I just felt so bad and so guilty for the fact that I had to, leave him without a babysitter.
That is, when you told me that story last week, I actually had tears in my eyes, just like right now, because everyone who is a parent,
it still impacts me.
When you hear your child saying, I'm bleeding, and you are not close.
Oh, God. It's scary.
Terror. And I know you having to wait for a train to come because it wasn't rush hour. That is the kind of thing that just sends chills, because terror. Yeah. And then when you walked into your home and you told me, you spared our listeners, our Facebook viewers of just everywhere he had touched, just running through the house from touching the ironing board to everything. And
he was terrified. So he just kept running. And the more he ran, I guess the more he bled.
Yes, because, our children, as they get older, and they are old enough to stay home by ourselves, we do tend to leave them. Especially once they get into elementary school, middle school, you no longer have babysitters for them.
No.
You no longer have that. So you're like, okay, what do I do? Or in your case, like you said, he was responsible. You knew, his activities, so you felt comfortable.
Yeah.
But now,
that unguarded moment, happened.
Now, you said your daughter was 10 years older than him.
10 years apart. Now, she was out of the house. Yeah.
She was out of the house by then. Yeah. And working. Yeah. So now, Maxine, like we said, stories are just that. They could be just stories until you say, okay, what can be the solution? We have mothers, fathers right now on this Facebook live stream that's going to see and hear our different stories, and they're going to say, that's my story.
Yeah.
They may be a lot younger than us.
Okay. Okay. They're just starting
There
out.
is hope. I mean, had I been offered and enlightened to there is a better way. There is a way that you could be home. See, because I started my entrepreneurial journey in my early 20s. I really did. I started my first corporation. I was 22 years old. I'm looking for the brochure right now. So I always was looking for something in order to make more money aside from the job. So now this was my first catalog. Well, I'm going to do it sideways so I can fit in the camera.
Okay.
Now, look at these products. Now, this is how I'm dating myself, okay? Back in the day,
Oh gosh.
wasn't eel skin that's the best? You wanted an eel skin lipstick holder, an eel skin purse. When you went to Nordstrom's and Macy's, and what is it, Nordstrom's, Macy's, you know, the higher
Neiman Marcus.
Neiman Marcus,
Mhm.
they had like this gorgeous line of eel skin products.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, in my 20s, I had taken a little course on importing. And then they said, look, you just go down to the World Trade Center, downtown LA, look at catalogs. And when you find a product you want, you know, you can contact the manufacturer. And I thought, okay. See, me, all you have to do is tell me, point me in the right direction. That's the kind of person I am. Point me in the right direction. Tell me some of the basics I need to know, and I'm doing it. And even at age 20, that was me. So I went downtown LA, looked through the catalogs, and this is the catalog that I saw. Okay. And I said, oh my God, I could bring in some eel skin. I knew I couldn't even afford eel skin in the stores. But when I looked at the manufacturer's prices, that's my business. So I contacted them, and by the sea, there was no faxing. I had to send a letter back then to them, wait for it. No, actually, as a matter of fact, there was faxing. Email was not prevalent. There was faxing. Or I had to do international postal mail. You know, faxing was just coming in because this was about 1982.
Okay.
You know, and the company got back to me and they said, yes, you know, we will ship to you. They weren't going to make me have these huge orders. And I said, okay, I love your catalog. I said, but can you put my business name at the bottom of your catalog? How much would that cost me? Because I didn't want to have to print my own catalog. Their catalogs were gorgeous with their entire product line. Okay. And they said, well, yeah, for 50 cents a catalog, we will put your name on them. But I had to order like 500 of them. Now, mind you, I'm still on this huge budget. So I scraped and I saved. And I for my business, did that first. Then I scraped and I said, okay, well, can I have samples? How much is a sample assortment of all your products? Because see, me, I'm thinking, I'm going to show the samples and have the catalog and then try to work that out. Well, that was a brilliant idea until I found out how much customs fees were. And back then I had to go on the piers of Los Angeles.
Oh, you physically had to go down there?
Physically had to go to the pier,
Okay.
clear customs, and pick up it was just something that on such a lower level with no budget,
yeah,
I really couldn't afford to do that business. But I did get a whole box of catalogs, you know, and I mean, in hindsight, it just let me know that I was always looking for a way to own my own business, because I always felt like if I could cut out the retailer, that's exactly what I wanted to do. But I did not have any type of system or mentors or map or just operations manual to teach me how to do that business at age 20.
Well, I got to tell you, my entrepreneurship started with Mary Kay Cosmetics. And that was very interesting. I was like you. I wanted something. I wanted to make more money because my job wasn't doing it. And at the time, I actually was a widow. My son's father died when he was 5 years old of pancreatic cancer. But I didn't want a second job. I didn't want to have to be out of the house. And I had a girlfriend at work. She started 2 weeks before me, and she walked up to me at my desk and put an application down and said, you need to do this. I was one of the easiest people to recruit. I said, Okay. And I started with the skincare class. And I was the type of person, I wanted to make sure that I had, product and everything. So I started with an $1,800 order. I stretched it. Of course, that was a credit card because I did not have the cash for that. And started my first skincare class. And it was kind of a love-hate affair because you have to carry product. You have to order a certain amount every quarter. I had to drive to, the customer. Sometimes I do a whole skincare class and someone would buy one lipstick. There's no guarantee. There really wasn't. And it just, at some point, it just got to be very frustrating because you're dragging all this product. You're doing the work as far as, doing the glamour, the skincare and all like that. And then, there's no guarantee that a person is actually going to even purchase it. So I knew I needed something else. I mean, I did that for a while. I had some successful weeks and that type of thing, but it was a lot of work. It was a hard hustle. It was, to be perfectly honest with you. And my son, who I hired, he would label my products. So I gave him a job. My products. And I would take him with me. He said, Mommy, we're going to a skincare class. Yes, we're going to a skincare class. But that was not the direction that I wanted to go. I know sooner or later I'd have to walk away from that. But
didn't it just offer you the opportunity to make $100, $200,
oh yeah,
$500 extra a month?
It wet my whistle as far as wanting to do something on entrepreneurial, home-based business. That was my first encounter as far as the tax write-offs. I didn't know all the tax write-offs as far as having a home-based business. And, at the time, my tax person wasn't that savvy, so they took the minimal amount, but at least I did get some tax deductions as far as mileage and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. But you know what, Maxine, that's one wonderful topic. I'm so glad you brought up. That was the first time that you were able to get these extra tax breaks as a home-based business owner that you did not have just as a postal employee.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I was telling you this before the show today, that, there's a new bill that's being put before the Senate and, hasn't been passed yet, but guess what? It probably will, because it's in the area of cutting corporate taxes. Okay, cutting all taxes, but specifically for businesses. Now, the interesting statistic is they want to cut the corporate tax rate from what it is today, which is 35%.
Okay.
I'm reading it off of CNN Money. They are proposed to cut that down to 20%, from 35% to 22.5% for corporations. Now, the small business owner, he's also going to get a break. Right now, the rate is 39.6% on the profits that they're taxed. Definitely more than corporations. That's, the small business owner is still taxed more than a corporation, but he's still getting more of a benefit than one that does not own their own home-based business. That is proposed to drop down to 25%, from 39.6 to 25%. Now, what that means to you, everybody that's watching this, what that means to you is get a home-based business. You need to start a home-based business now, so you can take advantage of the tax breaks. And like Miss Maxine Jones said, that her tax person was actually not that knowledgeable,
savvy, but I
just
still
enough to get you some of the breaks. Oh, yeah. I'm saying this: start a home-based business, but bring an expert on your team. Interview them. Bring on board someone who's used to doing home-based business taxes, because you are going to see some savings that, the government, believe it or not, wants businesses to succeed. They want businesses to stay in business. That's why the businesses have the best tax breaks.
Yeah, they have deep tax breaks.
Mm-hmm. So you qualify for that. So our message today is start a home-based business, because yes, we still have to work, single parents, two-parent families. We still, unfortunately, have to take our sick children to school from time to time.
Yes, we do.
But if you had a choice, would you? You wouldn't. You would stay at home. I'm going to tell you, this was, goodness, probably 15, no, she's not that old. I would say 10 years ago, my little Yorkie, Kara, and everybody who knows me and friends with me on Facebook, you see my Yorkies on my background.
The crew.
She had just gotten spayed. And she wasn't doing very well. I mean, I didn't realize that's a true operation for a dog, right?
Right.
And I'm telling you, when I got her from the vet, she couldn't even hardly move. And she's just subject to getting any kind of little infection. She's always been that way. And I can remember that night, I'm holding her little paw. I'm just trying to hold her paw. You'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Goodness. Yeah.
The next morning, I picked up the phone and I said, look, I can't come. My dog is not doing well. I still need to pick her up and take her out to go to the bathroom. I didn't, at that point, you know, it's kind of like, but see, I had more leeway on this job. Trust me, I was a lot older. You know, this was not the post office. And I'm like,
service would not let you stay home for a dog.
Okay, it would not. Okay, at all. Period. This job, they're like, oh no. Well, take as much time as you need. You got it. Because I'm telling you, she's not doing well. I might be in 2 days from now. And I was in 2 days from now. 2 days from then. But if you had your choice, what would you do? What types of things would you like to be able to stay home from work to do? You know, what kinds of things? And Miss Maxine Jones is retired now. I couldn't believe it. It didn't dawn on me. All this time I knew her, we're talking with Maxine, what, 2 years?
Yeah.
She was home, but you know, in my mind, because looking at Maxine and talking to Maxine, I'm like, she took an early retirement. She took an early one, real early. So I know she lost a lot of money.
I worked for the Postal Service for 29 years.
And when Miss Maxine Jones told me, no, I'm really retired, I'm like, oh my goodness, shut the front door. No way. There is no way. Okay. But now you can do things like tell me what you did today, because we were talking earlier today. What types of things as a retired person did you do just today?
Well, just today, we got up, my husband and I are back to walking, because we like to get out early in the morning and go walking when it's just beautiful. The sun is up, it's crisp, it's clear, especially in New York. Miss Sheila can't relate to like 48 degrees, 50 degrees in the morning. So,
sunny California. Sunny California.
Okay. She's a Cali girl, she's a Cali girl. But we have seasons in New York. So it was a nice fall, crisp morning. So we went out and we walked for an hour and almost an hour and a half, actually. And I actually was being the moderator of the power call this morning. So I made sure that I got back in enough time. But what I love so much is the freedom to do whatever that you need to do when you want to do it. When my daughter had our grandson, she worked from home on Wednesdays. But the first thing her boss said is, well, who's going to be watching your baby? Because, you can't work from home and the baby's there. And she said, oh, no. My mother will have the baby. So she would bring the baby over to me and I'd have the baby all day long until she picked him up about 6:30 or so. And I enjoyed it so much. I mean, I didn't mind going back to changing diapers and all like that. That's your grandbaby. You just want to do that. And I mean, I would have wanted to do that, more than one day. Actually, if I wanted to do it, if she needed me for more than one day, that's fine. I was free to do that for her. And that's so important, that you're free to do what it is, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to even go outside and you just want to sit, and Sheila knows this, I love Gunsmoke, and watch old episodes of Gunsmoke, then I'll sit and watch old episodes of Gunsmoke. But the freedom.
I have a question for you. I want you to, just for our Facebook viewers and listeners, you said you're the host of a global teleconference called the Power Call.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me just a little bit, how did you become the host? What does that entail? You are a retired woman, you're free. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to host a call?
Oh, I love the fact of connecting with people. It was challenging and scary at first. My first person who actually encouraged me to do that was my sponsor and friend, Mr. Rodney Berger. And I co-hosted the call with him on Monday nights for our team. And then Miss Sheila Abram actually challenged me to push myself. And she said, I see leadership in you. And we started a co-host Saturday call. And I was comfortable with that. I was, the Power Call it's motivating, it's inspirational. To me, it's also educational. I know we share that, it's not a training all like that. To me, it's also training as well, because every day there's nuggets that we get from our leaders, especially from our mentor and visionary, Mr. Tyrone and Valerie Best. But I wanted to just be a part of the group of what we call Wealth Builders Worldwide. And I wanted to be a leader. I didn't realize it at first, but in me kept this burning desire I could do more. I could say more. I could talk more, So when I first started with the Power Call, I just started sharing, I would share each day, and then it became like a regular thing as far as sharing. But just the encouragement from Rodney and Miss Sheila, as far as you could do this, you can actually do this. It just pushed my belief in myself sky high. And being retired, I want to do something like this. I want to grow. I'm reading books. I mean, this is a book that I'm reading right now, which
I'm reading that one too.
Absolutely love, Robert Kiyosaki. And I have been reading books like crazy and getting knowledge. I'm getting more knowledge than when I was in college. Absolutely. And I didn't have to do a student loan for it, which I did pay off, all of it.
From reading that book, Miss Maxine Jones, but being a part of Wealth Builders Worldwide, mm-hmm. we learned early on that in 1971, President Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Yes.
But reading that book, it was August 15th, 1970. I know the date that it happened.
Me too. Oh, yeah. 1971, I was like, it's embedded in my mind. Like, we went off the gold standard.
I just have a question for you, Miss Maxine Jones. Now, in your age range of friends, mm-hmm. Are a lot of them still working?
Most of them are still working. And if they are retired, they are struggling. Let's be honest here. This is Can We Chat here? Mm-hmm. They are struggling. Retirement, even for myself, you have this vision of retirement that, you're going to kind of skip off into the sunset and everything is going to be hunky-dory. That's not true, because of the money that when you retire, oddly enough, you've worked all those years and they give you less money. Okay. Yeah. So, and the cost of living keeps going up. So they expect you to live off of less. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends, don't retire, or they get a second job, or, like the seniors at Walmart, they say, I have to find something to do. I have to supplement my income. And it shouldn't be that way. It should not.
Now, I do know you told me you did, after you retired, You took on another profession because you still needed money coming in, which I was like amazed that you did this. What, after you retired, what did you do?
I did telephone training. I had a dear friend who, it was myself and another young lady, and she taught us how to do telephone training. It was a system where these telephones were actually like mini computers. So we actually started with training all of Morgan Stanley's sites. And she taught us on the phone. I mean, you had this thick book and she walked us through, all these figures and just how to set things up. And what we ended up doing was we would fly out on Sunday, train on Monday, and fly back on Tuesday. And I was doing this flying all over the country. Fly out on Monday, train on Tuesday, train on Monday, fly back on Tuesday. And you would be given an assignment from this company. So you would know, one day you'd be in Florida and the next week you would be in Illinois. But it was, what I liked about it, we were contractors. So we were able to make some really serious money. Now, we knew it wasn't going to last forever because the whole Morgan Stanley thing was supposed to last a year. We were finished within 6 months. So then she actually started contracting us because she had her own company as well. And we would do telephone training for her company because she took on so many projects. So whatever excess she had, we would do that as well. Sometimes we would stay, one year we stayed in Boston every week for the whole month of December. We actually stayed on site, and I'd come back home on the weekend and we'd go back again. But it was some good money. And I just needed to do that, needed to supplement my income. But we did telephone training. And we actually trained people how to use the telephone, how to speak on the phone, all of the amenities like that.
Now, what are you doing now? What did you transition into from telephone training?
I transitioned into a home-based business, being in Karatbars International and being a part of Wealth Builders Worldwide. And as you always say, and I got this from you, that I am a gold acquisition specialist. So we are teaching people how to save in gold. They have an option to do it as a business as well, but how to get out of debt and to just go back to the gold-based money system. Paper money is inflationary. And, unfortunately, our government prints a lot of paper, and that's a problem. And we need to teach people to go back to the gold-based standard. And Karatbars International is one of the best things I have ever done for myself and for my family. I am the first person in my family to own physical gold, the very first person. And one of the reasons I'm doing it is for my grandchildren. I have a granddaughter in Okinawa, Japan. I have a granddaughter in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I have a grandson in White Plains, New York. And I want them to have generational wealth. I don't want them to struggle one bit the way we had to do it. Our parents couldn't afford us all these things. And I think now it's time for us to be able to do this. And I'm just so grateful for Wealth Builders Worldwide and Karatbars International and the CEO, Harold Sykes, who had the vision to start that company.
Now, for you watching on Facebook, and you may be unfamiliar with Karatbars International, I want to invite you 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern time. I am a global webinar presenter, and I am going to break this wonderful opportunity down to you because you can start now. Yes. As with anything worthwhile, you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to build your business up. But I want you to think about how many employees or jobs have you applied for? You got entry-level position, but in your mind, you said, one day I want to be the manager. Mm-hmm. That might take me 7, 8 years, but I'm going to work hard and I'm going to get there. This is no different. Only difference is it's your business. You are building something for yourself, and now you're getting the wonderful tax breaks to reward you for doing it. So I want to invite you. It'll be live streamed on Facebook, or it'll be at goldrocks.info. Join me for this live presentation. We are going to end our session of Can We Chat here because we have something wonderful. And next week's topic, and this is another reason why we're changing the time and we're changing the day. See, I love the fact to be able after it to say, join me in a few hours on a wealth building webinar. That's initially why I chose this time, but that doesn't work for everybody. Right. Our next week's topic is going to be the power of a mentor. Ooh. I want now, in order to submit yourself to be and we can only have a max of 3 because we don't want this to go over more than an hour. Now, Miss Maxine Jones and I, we talked a bit today. That's because we didn't have the 3 panelists.
Right. But we want you to talk.
We want you to talk because I tell you, Mr. George Wilson, he typed something in the Facebook chat box. He says, I was driving a bus 2 hours away when my daughter called me with an emergency.
Wow.
And he's driving a bus.
Wow.
See, those are these are the things that's why it's so important for us to start now. You know, so go ahead, and the way to submit yourself for the topic next week, and I will be putting the topic up on Facebook probably starting tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's the power of a mentor. So if you have had a mentor that has completely changed your life, that with that mentor's guidance opened up a whole new world for you, we want to hear that story. Because see, remember when I said my first business, I was 20 years old. I just went to a little workshop on importing. I had no mentor. I died. My whole thing is I'm a dive in. I could do this. I'll figure it out. But see,
hit the floor running.
A mentor helps you not fall into the ditches and the pitfalls that will happen with this, small business ownership. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am a corporate owner. I own a personal care agency. I had 2. I shut one down last summer. And that was a road to break through the state bureaucrat red tape, to say, no, I'm going to do this and nobody's going to stop me. And I was one of the first 5 in California in that category. And I had a mentor though. My mentor he didn't have a personal care agency. He had a home health agency, and a home health agency has nurses that they send into the home to care for the sick and elderly and disabled. Personal care agency, we only have caregivers that we send into the home. So he sat me down because I said, I want to do what you do. You are making good money. You know what? And he says, are you a nurse? And I'm like, no. He goes, well, in order to have a home-based business, you must either be a nurse or partner with a nurse. He says, however, there's a brand new category the state just opened up last year, and it's called a personal care agency. You will have no nurses. You're going to only have caregivers. This is what the information I have on it. Go for it. He pointed me in the right direction.
He did.
And that's all it took. All he had, because it was new to him too. And he would just kind of tell me a little bit about running a home health. And I kind of figured out the similarities and the differences. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you, and this is the honest to God truth. I became an independent affiliate of Care Bars International. It is like a network. The company has a affiliate arm to it. Okay, as a traditional business owner, and if you're a traditional business owner out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have an idea of not one of those network marketing things. I am not going to sell products for anybody else. I'm starting my own business. I'm working for me. Mm-hmm. Coming from that area, that arena, that realm, I'll never do it again because of the liabilities that I still have, because of the responsibilities I still have, the insurances I still have to keep. All of the responsibilities. My business was a dependent of mine for 4 years like a child. But I was fortunate because I'm going to always be the best. By that 4th year, I was able to become its dependent. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're new to business, a network marketing company has the easiest barrier of entry. You have no insurances. You have no employees. The only thing you're doing is trying to hook up with other people that have a dream of freedom, that have a dream of they want an extra $500 to $1,000 a month, to want something different. And you all are going to lock arms and run together. Now, the beautiful thing, and then I want you to tune in tonight, is if you hook up with a team that has an extraordinary training system, and that's exactly what we have in Wealth Builders Worldwide. Wealth Builders Worldwide, we give you the map to success. And this is the first business, because it's a legitimate business, that someone has given me a map to succeed, and then the help to succeed. So I'm so happy that you joined us. I see we got a lot of comments here in Facebook. Thank you all for joining us. Miss Maxine Jones, I couldn't have a better co-host. I tell you, This has been wonderful. Now, anyway, back to how to submit your story. You're going to go to canwechathere.info. Canwechathere.info. There is a form that you fill out. Tell your brief story, what that mentor did for you, and you will be called by either Miss Maxine Jones or myself, or you will receive an email. We do only have 3 spots, and trust me, this time they would have filled up way too fast, but everybody was saying, can you change the time? And we already had it announced, so we really couldn't change the time, but we're changing it next week. We're changing it. So, because it's all about you. I don't want you to have to hear me and Miss Maxine Jones do all the talking. We want you to talk. Because there is a better way. And sometimes all it takes is hearing success stories and hearing why people are doing what they're doing. That makes all the difference in the world. So, Miss Maxine Jones, do you have any closing words you would like to say?
Yes, I do. I enjoyed this immensely. I'm going to enjoy this as we move forward. And I just always think of Mr. Tyrone Bice. He always tells us to dream big. And guys, you know what? I think a lot of times people stop dreaming because they just feel that he can't acquire a specific dream, or they just give up. Never, never, ever give up on your dream. I have silver hair. So you know I'm not young. I'm young in spirit and heart, but I never stopped dreaming. And you've got to grab a hold of that. It can be done. We have the vehicle that could actually acquire your dreams. So, tune in to Miss Sheila Abram, who's an excellent presenter, one of my favorites, but begin to dream again. Our mentor and visionary tells us to go, dream sailing, go look at cars that you want and houses that you want, and don't feel that you can't acquire them, because you can. You absolutely can. So, in his words, dream big.
Dream big. And I tell you, the week after the Power of a Mentor, we are going to do Retiring in America. So I tell you, I'm going to be putting the call out for seniors who have retired, and tell what really happens when you retire in America. I want to hear your story, because Miss Maxine Jones has some powerful information she told me about really retiring in America. So everyone have a wonderful day. And I will be back here 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful golden day.
Yes, it's been our pleasure.
Okay, Miss Maxine Jones, can you end the Facebook live stream? Click on the more.
Okay.
The bottom says more. No, on the platform.
Oh, platform. Okay. Yeah, got it.
More, and then